Today, we talk about current UFC women's flyweight champion Valentina "Bullet" Shevchenko. What people love about Valentina is her no-nonsense attitude, lack of rhetoric, and professionalism. She stays true to herself, her style of fighting, and her diverse background. But it is Valentina's kickboxing, fight IQ, relentless pursuit of takedowns, brutal ground and pound, and overall presence that have made her a staple in women's MMA. Valentina is not only a famous MMA champion, but she is also one of the most dominant female fighters in UFC history. She largely dominates all her fights and has put together one of the best runs as champion in UFC history. In this video, we wanted to recap Valentina's most dominant performances to date. Before we get into it, please remember to smash that like button if you like the video, as well as subscribe and hit that notification bell so you know whenever we have a new video coming out. Now back to our list. Blonde fighter Katlyn Chookagian. Most recently, Valentina defended her UFC flyweight belt for third consecutive time against Katlyn Chookagian at UFC 247 in February of 2020. This bout started as a technical striking affair, each fighter picking their spots and being patient, using their kicks to gauge the distance. Near the end of the first round, Valentina caught a kick from Katlyn and took her down. From top position, Valentina began to unleash some nasty elbows that cut Katlyn's head open. The second round of the fight would look very similar to the first. Valentina would drag Katlyn back to the ground and control her after throwing some nasty kicks on the feet. She established position on Katlyn, would unload with more strikes from the top. In the third, Valentina catches another kick from Katlyn and drags her back down to the ground. This is where she gains the crucifix position and begins to unload nasty elbows and punches until the referee is forced to stop the fight. Blonde fighter was crushed within 3 rounds. Liz Carmouche. At UFC Uruguay, Valentina defended her belt for the second time against Liz Carmouche. Liz was coming off 2 consecutive victories and won 4 of her last 5 fights. This fight saw Valentina control Liz in almost every aspect of the fight. Valentina threw heavy strikes throughout the first 2 rounds. These strikes would back Liz up and get her into defense mode. Valentina knocked Liz down with a quick combination and dragged her back to the ground while she was still rocked. The rest of the fight was very similar to the first 3 rounds. Valentina could tie Liz up and take her down at will, as well as outstrike Liz. Liz would continue to play defense mode throughout the rest of the fight. Carmouche had trouble mounting any significant offense during this 25-minute championship affair. Valentina's domination and smashing of Liz Carmouche allowed her to cruise to a unanimous decision victory and second successful title defense. Jessica I. This is one of Valentina's most impressive wins. This is because of the way the fight ended. This fight started as a technical chess match between 2 experienced strikers. The first round was spent with both fighters trying to feel each other out and land clean strikes when they got into exchanges. However, Valentina would continue to land kicks to the body of Jessica, which took their toll over the first round. As a result, in the second round, Jessica began to block those kicks with her arm. But blocking the kicks required Jessica to drop her hands away from her head, thus leaving an opening for a head kick. Early in the second round, Valentina doubled down on these hard kicks to the body as she saw Jessica continue to drop her hands to block them. Later in the round, Valentina would fake a kick to the body to get Jessica to lower her hands and hit her square in the head with a shin kick. The thud of Valentina's shin connecting with Jessica's head shuddered loudly throughout the arena. Immediately, Jessica was out cold and the fight was waved off. Jessica was unconscious for a few minutes. Jessica got crushed by Valentina, but she did regain her consciousness and go on to fight again in December. Joanna Jędrzejczyk. Valentina and Joanna met at UFC 231 in December of 2018 for the vacant UFC flyweight title. Joanna is a former 5-time defending women's strawweight champion and went up a division to challenge Valentina for the flyweight belt. Many people do not know that Joanna and Valentina have fought multiple times before, back when they were both amateur and professional kickboxers. Both were two of the best female kickboxers in the world at one point. Valentina won each of those kickboxing contests. Like those kickboxing matches, Valentina would use her superior speed and athleticism to nullify the volume of strikes from Joanna. Shevchenko would consistently land kicks to the body and legs of Joanna to nullify her movement. As Joanna's movement slowed down, Valentina would slowly pour more and more power strikes on Joanna throughout the fight, making it harder for Joanna to move forward. By the fourth round, Valentina was dictating the pace and movement. Valentina would not let Joanna mount much offense or land many significant strikes at all. This dominant effort let Valentina prevail to a unanimous decision victory and win the UFC flyweight belt. Priscilla Cachoeira. These two fighters met at UFC Fight Night Machinda vs Anders in February of 2018. This fight was between Valentina's UFC debut in the 125-pound division. This was nothing short of a wall-to-wall beating that Valentina delivered to Priscilla. About a minute into the fight, Valentina took Priscilla down via ankle trip, established position, and unleashed ruthless ground and pound on her for the remainder of the round. The same continued into the second round. This was the story of the fight. Priscilla took an absolute beating for majority of 2 rounds. The referee should have stopped the fight sooner, but finally waved off the action near the end of the second round. Safe to say, Priscilla got crushed. Julianna Pena. This fight took place in January of 2017, back when Valentina was still in the UFC Women's Bantamweight division. This fight was billed as a title eliminator fight. The winner would likely fight for the Women's UFC Bantamweight title. Many thought this would be a classic striker versus grappler fight. However, Valentina welcomed the eventual ground battle that took place with Julianna. This showed in the second round when Julianna took down Valentina. Valentina threatened with submission attempts off her back and would quickly get back up to her feet. On her feet is where Valentina had the clear advantage, hence why Julianna wanted to bring the fight to the ground. This backfired on Julianna when Valentina caught her in an armbar off her back and forced a submission victory. Another UFC opponent crushed. Holly Holm. Holly Holm and Valentina Shevchenko met in July of 2016 on the UFC on Fox card in a women's bantamweight contest. Holly Holm was coming off an upset loss to Miesha Tate a few months earlier and wanted to re-establish herself at the top of the division. Holm was also the betting favorite coming into the fight, given that she was the former champion. Valentina was coming off a loss to Amanda Nunes from UFC 196 in March 2016. That fight was title eliminator bout, and Amanda went on to defeat the champion Miesha Tate for the title at UFC 200. The winner of Holly versus Valentina would put themselves in line for a title shot. The fight was predicted to be a high-paced striking affair. The fight started out that way, with Valentina getting hurt by one of Holly's punches and being dragged to the ground by Holm, who is the bigger fighter. Valentina was controlled for most of the first round, but came back in the second round by adjusting her timing, counters, and distance. Holm settled into a rhythm of attack, and Valentina began to pick her apart with well-timed counters and distance control. Holm was met with right hands every time she charged forward. When Holm tried to clinch to take the fight to the ground, Valentina would reverse and take Holm down. Holly's kicks were checked by Valentina, rendering them ineffective. Holm's strategy did not change and remained static over the first 3 rounds, allowing Valentina to continue to execute what was working for her. Valentina's strategy led to a unanimous decision victory over the former champion in Holly Holm, another tough opponent crushed by Valentina. Okay guys, what did you think of this list? Are there any dominant performances from Valentina that you think I left off this list? Who do you think can beat Valentina? Let me know in the comments. Please remember to smash the like button if you enjoyed the video, it helps me out a ton. Also subscribe and hit the notification bell to get information every time we drop a new video. I appreciate you guys watching until the end, and I talk to you guys again soon.